Hello and good morning, everybody. How are we doing? This is Jeremiah. You are in the right place. If this is your first Land Effects webinar, honestly, you couldn't have picked a better one. This is going to be great. We are very much known for our planting plugins, and this Ask Us Anything is just a great way to learn, but also to be heard. This is all about getting your questions, whatever you might possibly want to ask us about, you name it. There is a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, which is absolutely crucial to this whole endeavor. Go ahead and click that button now, and you'll see the little Q&A box. So you can go ahead and get your questions in at any time here. We have a little bit that we'll be showing, but this whole webinar is predicated around, just directly answering any random questions you have. Just please let it be about planting. That's all we ask. This is also being recorded, so all these wonderful knowledge and answers we're going to share, you'll be able to share with the rest of your team and watch over and over again. It's going to be that good, I guarantee it. That's really all I have. And I'm kind of, Amanda's about to repeat some of these things I'm saying, so I don't want to burn up too much time with this intro. This is going to be a lot of fun. Amanda, let's take it away.
Sounds like a plan. Okay. Welcome, everybody. So glad to have you all today. I know we have been really excited about these Ask Us Anythings, and we've been getting a lot of feedback that you guys have been too. So we're so happy to have you here today. It's been a year since our spotlight on plant schedules, and it's been a year of tweaking basically all of that with all of the great input from all of you. So we really appreciate that. Today, it's kind of fair game for anything planting, whether it is AutoCAD, SketchUp, Rhino, or Revit. You can ask us anything about that, and we will try and answer your questions as best we can. We have a full team here today to help answer all of these questions. We have Jer and myself and Molly, and we also have Jake and Terry helping out to kind of answer some of the questions in the background. So definitely, again, open up that Q&A button at the bottom of this window for this webinar and start thinking about what you're going to ask. I'm going to start off this webinar first by going through some of the recent changes that we have done other than that major plant schedules update that we already had a webinar about. And then I'm going to briefly talk about the big ideas that we are already working on that are on the roadmap and going to be done soon. And then also some tips on, hey, do you want something that you really want to make it to the top of the list? Let's talk about that. And then, of course, we're going to get to all of your questions and try and answer as many as we can live. So I just put some prompts in here to kind of help you think about what questions you want to ask if you're kind of drawing a blank right now. So the things that are new and live, and you can use them right now. First is the trainer. Tell your friends about it. Tell your colleagues. If you are the CAD manager in your office or the BIM manager, you need to go through it yourself. Even if you consider yourself an expert on any of these topics, I highly recommend you go through these videos yourself to figure out how they work so that you can easily recommend them to your whole team. I actually had a training with a talk with somebody yesterday where they started doing that. And yeah, the manager in the office, the project lead, started going through these tutorials, realizing how helpful they were and being like, oh my goodness, we got to get everybody on it. And shout out to the CAD training one as well. That is going to be essential to any new hires, as well as, you know what, yourself to just refresh on those best CAD practices, get some new ideas. The second thing that's big and new are the ground cover hatches for plants. So I'm not sure if you guys saw it, but it went out in the newsletter. By the way, if you're not subscribed to the newsletter, hopefully you are. If you're here live, you probably are. You saw this to register. If you're watching the recording of this, you need to register for the newsletter to see the announcements of new features like this when they come out. And that you can do so on our website. But basically, we redid all of our hatches to be smaller file size, so more performance improvements, better performance basically in CAD. Our first iteration of these happened to increase the file size a little bit. So if you are finding that some of your file sizes for your planting plans are huge and they might be going very slow, especially if they have a lot of hatch plants in them, do take a look into this. Just go to our website, and in the support section of our support page in the search bar, type hatches June 2024, and that will get you to the right documentation page with the steps to make sure you have the latest and greatest hatches that are very small. And also it means that we have been able to experiment a little and start adding some new hatches. So we do have it actually in our roadmap for content to add even more hatches to this library. And if you have an example of a hatch that you would love to see or a pattern, even one that you hand drew yourself, do send it in to us, and we can see what we can do about making it into a real hatch now that we have this process nailed down. Next, that is new and live, we have Revit type parameters for the Planting FX Revit plugin. There is a guide, and you will get a notification if you have a existing plan with instance parameters on how to upgrade that to type parameters. So please do reach out if you're having problems with that. We are working through a few things on it, but we have a lot of new Revit stuff coming up that really relied on that fix. And then the next one, we are starting to reach out more about what people want in terms of our wish list and things. And we're starting with a survey. Molly put a survey onto our community forum at that landfx.com/community. I encourage all of you watching right now to open up a browser to the side, go to landfx.com/community. It's pinned to the top, Molly's 2-minute survey. I do recommend you fill that in to help her know what you need in terms of where we're going to go with expanding the database for our plants. And then we'll probably, depending on how successful this is, we might do this again for other features as well, or maybe make it a regular habit. Next, before we jump into CAD, I want to talk about some big ideas that are already in the works, which might actually answer a few questions that are coming up of, I wish LandFX did this. So the first thing is for Plant Portfolio. Now, I know we featured Plant Portfolio in a previous webinar, and we kind of put it into beta mode as we worked out a few more kinks, which are all resolved at this point. So we are looking at launching that in March 2025. So that is just next month, when we are going to be putting out our new installer with our upgraded ribbons. We always do that usually in March of every year. We improve the ribbons for the landfx.cuix ribbons, just the FX admin, FX planting, FX site, all of that. And we are going to be adding a new icon in there for the plant portfolio. But if you want to try it right now, and I'm going to show you how to use it, you can actually type that command into the command line and it works. But again, remember, it is in beta mode, so please be patient with it. And if you see any issues with it, please report that in a ticket at all. Any issues or any, suggestions or for improvement, that would be greatly appreciated. So with that though, we are going to need to we have needed to implement something to get your photos that you have on your computer into that portfolio tool. The plant portfolio tool is web-based, which means it does have a little bit of trouble accessing files on your computer. So as you probably already know, you can assign photos to plants. And when you do so, you have the ability to choose a photo, an image file that is on your own computer, as opposed to just grabbing one from the web or from LandFX itself. And so those are the photos that can't upload to the plant portfolio unless you follow a new procedure to do so. And with that new procedure, it is going to kind of add it to a library. So you'll see what will happen, but basically you need to confirm that you took the photo, you own the photo, and you are giving permission to upload it to the plant portfolio tool. And if you do so, you are going to get a badge in our community. And this is actually, we've been talking about how this is going to work. It is going to add points to your profile for every photo that you upload. You are going to get credit for it. Basically, we're just working out how that system might work, but we wanted to say it now for when it comes out. We're going to make a whole documentation page to explain this a little better, but you don't have to worry about losing credit for a photo that you post to it as soon as it comes out. You will maintain that credit and get the credit later once we get the compensation system or whatever those credits can apply to. Okay, so moving on from that, because that's still a little up in the air. But the next one that we are changing is we are changing the bloom schedule to be called the plant color board. I have an example over here of a prototype, and you can even see it's still being worked on as we speak. This prototype was made when we were thinking we'd call it the plant color chart. We didn't like the word chart. We moved over to board, but basically that's what it's going to be. Instead of the bloom schedule where it lists out like a Gantt chart over time with the seasons, this is how we've had so many requests to get the rest of the colors in our database into the bloom schedule. And this is what we're thinking we're going to do, where it's kind of going to be like a plant schedule, but we can't call it schedule because there's no quantities. So it's a board, and it just lists all of the different types of colors that you have the capability of adding to your plant data, and gives you the opportunity to create a whole color vision board. Maybe bring this now into Photoshop and use it to set all your colors for anything else that you want to use in Photoshop, and create a materials vision board, whatever you want to do with it. This is really going to open up a lot of things. So that renaming, though, is going to happen on March. It's still going to function exactly like the bloom schedule, but we are going to add more functionality to it as time goes on. And get it closer to being able to offer this as well. Next one is the block names for the 2D plants, like the 2D plan symbols in AutoCAD and Revit, and the elevation symbols in AutoCAD and the 3D symbols in SketchUp, Rhino, and Revit are all going to get new block names. So do be aware of that. Anybody who kind of was with us through the last block renaming knows how this works. It might result in some duplicates in your library, but know that we will have a documentation page on how to clean that up in your office. And we are going to try and make it as easy as possible to clean up, given our what do you call it? Our experience from doing this before. We're improving this process as we go along and getting feedback about how hard it is, or not, what would make it easier. So we are always implementing that, and that's what's going to happen. This is going to really standardize the symbol names across all of the platforms. And you guessed it, that means we're probably going to be adding all of those symbols to all of the platforms and really expanding all of the plugins. Then we also have, there's a lot, guys. We have color render changes. The idea is, yes, you can choose any symbol, and yes, you can choose any color, and color render will do that. That is still a vague idea. We're still figuring out how to implement it, but it basically came off of how we do color render in the Revit plugin, if you've used that, where it's actually baked into the symbol, and a little bit about how we do the site color tool. Then we're adding seed mix suppliers. So that means pre-made mixes, and that opens up a lot of doors for a lot of pre-made mixes or templates or anything like that in our plan set concept plant mixes, and then maybe even also just like regional templates. We're seeing where that's going to go. Okay, last page of big ideas is we are expanding. If you use the Revit plugin, you know that we have fill with plants in there. We're expanding that, improving the functionality in Revit, but also in SketchUp, it's kind of taken a big leap where we are, you can see in a preview here, we are going to be able to put those plant mixes in here and have it actually place on an entire floor. It's real. I'm showing you it. So you can see where it is at right now, but that's really exciting. And that's going to lead into huge improvements, a huge overhaul of the SketchUp plugin I'm going to show you, including a plant manager in SketchUp, a site amenities manager. We are making it look like CAD. Fill with plants and mixes, but also adding those great tools that we have on our AutoCAD plugin, with the intention that that's going to also happen on all of our other plugins, including, I have it down here, the Rhino plugin, same kind of overhaul. In the immediate roadmap for Revit, we have the root ball visibility tool is probably going to be in the next update. You guys probably saw there were a few updates that came out, so we have streamlined that process, and it's going to be more regular. Revit concept plants by at least by middle of the year, if not way sooner. We're probably going to have that out by the end of Q1, to be honest, but we give ourselves some buffer time. And then mix and match Revit families to make things easier. Anybody who uses Revit has probably already heard me talking about that. Okay, last slide before we jump in and really start to tackle some of the questions popping in is, do you have a suggestion? So I just gave you a lot of things. All of these were like big ideas that somebody asked us for, and now we're doing them. So how do you get your idea noticed and to the top of the list? Because I can tell you it's a long list already. The first thing I would suggest is really check our documentation and videos. Really try and think, can I do this with pretty easily with the existing tools that exist in LandFX already? And if not, it's okay. You can still put in a ticket, give us your idea following the rest of these recommendations. And hey, we might come back and say, oh, did you know you can actually achieve this pretty easily using this combination of tools in a advanced workflow? And so just keep that in mind, that we might come back with that. When you put in a suggestion, please be kind. We're human. We've dedicated our careers and lives to this software, and we're really proud of the things that we've done so far. So please be kind in your suggestions. That really goes a long way to getting us to notice your suggestion too. So I gave a suggestion format, and honestly, this is the format that like Chair asks me to give to him when I present an idea to him, even working here. This is how we get ideas done in here. So anything you can do to help me help the developers understand the issue and see the answer and see the solution, That really moves the process forward because it takes a lot of time for us to do this. And just remember, any idea that you give us that you want automated will save you probably days of time in your workflow. So any help you can do is totally worth it. Avoid being vague. It'd be so nice if plants could fly or something like that. And assume that we've already considered the idea. Just go with that assumption. We've been doing this for a long time and we've kind of thought of all the things, but sometimes things just stall because we're not quite sure how to do it, how to implement it, what's the best way to approach it. So yeah, we agree it would be great to have plants fly, but we're just stuck on how. How does that happen? What does that look like? What's the end result look like? How are you getting there right now? And how much time is that taking you versus how much time it could save you? So that kind of information can really help things move along in the priority list. Okay, that was a lot. We're going to go into some questions. Again, here's my prompts for you to kind of think about what you'd like to ask with all of that context of what we're already doing. And maybe I'll do a quick demo of 2 quick things, and then we'll jump into questions. Okay, so I'm gonna escape out of here. And by the way, this is that badge for the plant photographer, and that you will get in our community forum if you upload any photos. We also have some badges for applying that we're going to put in here for applying plant data, like applying colors to the plant data or applying like zones, and getting your photo or your color or whatever accepted is also important. The other thing I want to show is that plant portfolio. So I'm on a prototype of the ribbon that will go out probably at this point, we're looking at the first week of March. And under this drop down in planting is the plant portfolio tool. But remember, you won't see this tool right now until you get the new ribbon in March, but you can still use that FX_plant portfolio command in the command line. So I'm just going to click this. And I'm going to do the entire drawing. And it brings up a web browser. So this is a little bit improved from the last time that we showed this. You can now do 2 plants per page or 1 plant per page. So I've just condensed it down to 2 plants here, only placed plants or the entire palette. And then you can kind of choose what information you display. Don't want to show colors, not really important to you, take it away, it updates. You can also add it right on back. Don't want the photo? You should want the photo. But if you don't, you can take it away. You can kind of customize how this looks. You can choose the page size. Right now, we just have letter or A4, but do give feedback and an example of how you want it to look. If you feel this really needs a different page size, do give us feedback on how you would want that layout to look. What are you aiming for? Any feedback on this plant portfolio. That's exactly, we want to see that example of what you are trying to achieve. Helps us out a lot. So right now, it's obviously still in its infancy, so some things need more information on the plant, right? Like this one doesn't have a description yet, so I can add a description, but as it says, this will not print. And I can go through. This says image unavailable. What happened? Add your own image. That's the process I was talking about. So you can see all of this. This will not print. And when you save this PDF, obviously it's that kind of information is not going to show, and you will just get that final PDF that you can present to your client with more of that information about each plant in here. So that is really cool. Definitely give that a shot. You'll also notice as we go through here, there are flower colors and flower accents, and that affects how things show in the bloom schedule as well. So you can absolutely add all of these. I am going to close this. And then the other thing I wanted to show was the new SketchUp tool. So I see up there that somebody just asked, how do I find and install the SketchUp plugin? And you do want to go over here to the 3D connection. And in here, you're going to see this link right here. So here's our plugins for all of those 3D connection platforms. If I click this, it's going to take me to this page, and you do have to install it using this RBZ right now. While we are doing these improvements, we have pulled it from the SketchUp extension warehouse. So you can only install it from here. And if an update is needed, you also have to install the update from here. So keep that in mind. And let's keep going. I'm just going to go over to SketchUp. You guys have probably already seen, a lot of you have already know you can take all these plants and export them to the 3D connection and import them into SketchUp. But I'm going to go to SketchUp just to show you some of the new things that are coming in. So this is the new toolbar. I'm not sure when this is going to be live, but a lot of the things on here are already on here. The things that aren't are this plant fill or mimic and fill and copy along, as well as this plant manager, and the site amenities manager does not look like this yet. But as you can see, we can start to see those 3D models of all of these rough notes. I'm going to close that, but also all of these plants. You can see the potential for 2D plants in SketchUp. It's on our mind. But I can preview all of the symbols, and I can add new, I can edit all of that stuff just like I can do in CAD or Revit right now. But then I can place from here, and I'm going to see, is this, yeah, I can select a face. This is the really cool one. And then do fill. And then choose plants, plural. I can do plural plants. So let's see if, oh, I don't know if that one has a symbol, but we'll see. Let's do this one, and where's another, not a tree. Let's see, red twig dogwood. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna go next. 33%, that's fine. And I'm gonna do maybe 10 feet so it doesn't go crazy, maybe even 20 feet, just so it doesn't have to calculate too much, and apply. There we go. And I can reapply, and it should shift that around. Still working on the performance on it, but it is thinking through it. And maybe I go a little bit smaller and apply. And you can see it's going to get rid of the existing plants already in there. So like a scatter tool. There we go. That is our first iteration of this. And this is going to expand to all the platforms, hopefully, as soon as we work out in each API how to accomplish the same thing that we're doing here in SketchUp. I'm going to accept that. Let's go. And it's going to be okay once it's done. Okay, let's go off into back to CAD though, while that finishes thinking, and let's figure out what questions we want to answer so far. Who's first up?
Yeah, you've got we've got a few. Oh my gosh. First, a couple of people work with flats, and it sure sounds like they were unaware of how we have that already built into the software. They both say how they're doing those flat calculations off on the side in Excel or something. So if you could just show how to assign flats to a ground cover, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, let's go to a ground cover, and I'm going to maybe grab this creeping time. That's a common one that would be in a flat in different plugs. So I'm going to edit that one over here and change that from a number 1 size pot to let's go with flat over here. And the containers type, I'm going to say plugs. And then that adds to here instantly, that flat count appears. So that means what you're going to do is go ahead and say how many plugs or whatever are in that flat typically. So let's say there's 24 in a flat, and we're going to keep this plant spacing at 4 inches. And I'm going to say, okay. And it's going to update anything in here, but just to be sure, I am going to region or do a rectangle over here. There we go. Nice big area. Lots of creeping time. Place. There we go. There's that creeping time placed. I can do a label. So when I do a label, I can grab this one. It is going to show the individual quantity of plants in that area. So not the flat count. That is actually how many plants in that area. And then when I run a schedule, let's go over here, schedule. Yep. Looks good. Symbol code. Awesome. Okay. And I'm just going to do the whole drawing instead of a work area. It's going to go real quick. Love the new plant schedule. Okay, let's go down here. Thymus, it's a flat. And this quantity shows the number of flats versus the individual number of plants. So that is how that works. And I see
Pretty
in,
cool.
oh yeah. Oh, nope, there's one. You've got one lined up, Chair?
I got the next one was just always nice to show Mimic, all the amazing uses of Mimic, and it's a good one that people tend to not be aware of. Can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got a bunch of different trees in here, and based on comments, I need to kind of change them. Just the species, I can go up here to clone a mimic and drop that down, and it's clone just does the copy of the plant. And remember, we do recommend using clone or Xcopy or any of these tools to copy a plant block instead of the native AutoCAD copy command. It just carries the X data with it. But same with mimic, but mimic is even better. So I can grab mimic and I can take this symbol and I can apply it to this one, and boom. Now it's that real plant. And if I run verify labels, it is going to tell me that now this plant is unlabeled. So it must still be being picked up by something accidentally. This is a test drawing on me, but that's how that works. And then the other cool thing about this is Mimic can actually even turn blocks that are dumb and have no data at all. So this motorcycle, it is just a block that we got from this Plan Graphics from a motorcycle block we put in here for context, right? Has no data on it at all. It's just a block. So I can copy that one around, or I can clone it as well. Copy. There we go. I have a bunch of these. I can actually use Mimic. I'm going to go back to FX Planting and use Mimic. I'm going to grab this shrub and I'm going to mimic it to this block. And already it's saying, hey, that's a dumb block. It doesn't have any data, not a smart block. And I notice that there are more than one of it in this drawing, and I'm going to give it data. This tool is going to give that block data when it mimics it, but it sees that there's more. So it's like, do you want to do this to all of them? And I can just say yes. And bam, all of these are now shrubs. So I can go ahead and group label them just like that. and they'll be included in the schedule. So obviously you can see this is super powerful for if you are trying to convert, say, a plan that your office did before land effects, or a plan from a surveyor or something like that. Very powerful to get data on all of those items. So it's so quick to just transform all the blocks into the right thing. Then you have the power of the plant labels and the plant schedule and the verify labels and the highlight and all of these tools that rely on that data. It's always a good idea to convert an old plan. It will always save you time, pretty much. That is Mimic. Did I miss anything on Mimic, do you think?
I don't think so, but I will admit I was busy with all these other questions, so I wasn't exactly following. I'm going to assume it was great. Another great one is work areas. So one Patricia chimed in and sounded like, yeah, she just hasn't been using work areas. And then another person chimed in. I just didn't grab their name. Would love to see the all work area option when sending to Excel.
Ooh, okay. Let me see.
So it's
I
really
think.
just the, for organizing the quantities but then, specifically seeing the, either for a schedule for just a single work area or the all work area option and how that comes up in Excel.
Okay, it looks like I gotta install Excel on this presentation virtual machine, but in the meantime, I'm gonna get it running on my Mac because I know that it is there. One sec. Excel. There it is. Okay, I know I can open it up over there. And so let's start with work areas. Let me get rid of this highlight because we don't need it at the moment. So I do have work areas set up in here. Let's having a problem refreshing the view. There we go. Okay. So for instance, I have a work area down here, area D. And I actually have set this work area to different scale than the rest of my drawing. The way that I created this, I can just easily create this again. Actually, this one is in a XREF, so I'm going to freeze that XREF for the moment or delete it. Let me see, what do I want to do? I'm going to unload it and just use work areas normally in this drawing for the moment. Work areas, I am going to unload. There we go. Okay, so let's pretend we're just doing a work area for here. I'm going to go over to new work area in any ribbon, pretty much, and then click it. And it's going to ask me for the title. So this was area space D. There we go. And I can either choose the plot scale. So this is defaulting to the world plot scale that you guys all know you always do up here and scale before you are able to place anything. You can have you can just keep it the same, or you can apply a new scale. So say this is an enlargement area. I'm going to set this to 10 scale because that's how big my viewport is going to be for it. I can even at this point apply an area D suffix, which will amend the layer name of any land effects objects that are placed inside of it after the work area is created. It doesn't retroactively to apply to everything it finds in it when you place it. So I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do an F3 to get rid of my snaps, and I'm going to place this down. Again, in work areas, it captures everything where if it's a block, the insertion point falls inside of it. So if I do this, it won't capture that tree because the insertion point is on the trunk. It won't capture it. Also, for any hatch areas, it has to have the majority of these of the border must be completely inside the work area. They can't be snapped to the edge of the work area. That's considered outside. and it's just a majority of it. It gets these colors. It looks a lot better in black background, which is what we normally do, but I'm just going to change it to blue for now. The color doesn't matter. It's on a non-plot layer. And there we go. I'm going to move this tag to the side. It's an mLeader tag. Do not delete it. It must be there. Now I've got a work area and I can run a schedule. I'm going to do a new schedule. Symbol size, detail. I don't need detail. And let's just do a really small schedule. There we go, with no remarks. There we go. And I am going to do okay. And at this point, if there is a work area present in any way in this drawing, whether it's in an XREF and attached appropriately, or in this drawing proper, it is going to ask you when you run a schedule, do you want to select a work area, or right click to just do a schedule for the entire drawing and ignore work areas. And in this case, I only have one work area, so it is not giving me the option for all work areas. If I have more than one, it will give me that, and I'll show you that in a moment. So I am just going to click on this work area, and then I'm going to place this, and you can even see it did the schedule at the same scale as the work area. But if I just move this up, it's a plant schedule for area D, and it's only including the quantities of the plants inside of there. So you can see there's this Quercus agrifolia of a quantity of 1. Let me just do one quick thing, and I'll show you some things that have changed with work areas. Not changed, but we'll start with all work areas and then the thing that's changed. So I'm going to go ahead and reload that XREF. Reload. So this XREF with work areas, I have followed our procedure on how to send the work areas out to, let's see if I can get rid of this. There we go. Out to an XREF instead. And so that they are in an XREF, I use the procedure to then bring them back in properly, so they're on the right layer and they're all linked with the same project and everything, so that they will also get recognized as if they are in this drawing. And this is great because then you can apply the same grouping of work areas to multiple different drawings that are all in the same project. And now that I have more than one work area, if I run a schedule, let's go schedule. And I am going to do a new schedule, and this time, perfect, okay. It's going to ask me if I want all work areas because there are multiple. So I'm going to tap A and enter. And it's going to think for a sec, and then we're going to pop it down and it's going to do its thing. So here we have the total quantity of the entire drawing, and then all of the plants in each work area in my drawing broken down. And I can go further. I can do this as a subtotal or anything, or I can do what the question asked, and I'm going to go new. And instead of doing a table in this drawing, I'm going to go to a spreadsheet. And same thing. And I'm going to say, okay. And we're going to do all work areas again. And if you have Excel installed, it will open up Excel right away. I have Excel installed outside of my Parallels virtual machine. So I'm just going to save this at the moment on my desktop. Save. And I'm going to go over to my Excel, which should be open now. Let's find it. I just have some things in the way. There it is. And I am going to open on my Mac in my desktop. Let's see, where did it save to?
You should be able to just
Oh, it might have
click
gone to
on
my
it.
desktop in my, it probably went into my
Oh,
desktop in my virtual machine.
Wow. But
Let's,
it looks just like that in the Excel version.
it does look like just like that. Let's see. Ah, it's gonna bother me that it went to the wrong one. While I'm looking for this, any other questions? Let's get that over to desktop. Oh, that was easy. Okay. Excel. There we go. There it is. Okay. Open.
There we go.
There. Exactly the same. I usually recommend when you go to Excel, separate out. I like separating out the botanical and common names into different columns. I just find it's easier to coordinate with other formatted Excel. So you could just do whatever you want with this. Okay. Hopefully that
Absolutely.
answered that question.
I think so. Awesome. Okay, got another one. Another good schedule one. Um, uh, uh, Dylan was just saying that he, loves the plant portfolio, but it's of course one plant per sheet. And when they've done something similar, they'll do approximately 8 plants per sheet, which saves some paper, of course,
Mhm.
and works for them. I was wondering if there might be something like that, and I mentioned, well, one option is, of course, I mean, you can run a schedule photo and like just botanical name, and that's a pretty concise schedule, and that might do everything that he wants. So that might be nice to show. I really like how customizable this new schedule redo is. But to do
Mhm.
something like that, but I've really liked that one, but for showing photo and like turning off everything else, turning off quantity, turning off code, turning off size, and it makes a very, very concise schedule. That maybe that's exactly what he'd be after.
That should be good. Okay. And I'm just going to do it on this work area again, just to make it a little smaller in the preview. So right now, since I have assigned all of those photos to those plants, and I might have assigned them in a template and imported them into this project, uh, it was just loading all of those images into this drawing as it was going. So yeah, you could totally take this and then pop it into a layout space over to the side with any of the information you want. You could even add the remarks under the name. That's a great idea. I didn't think about doing it that way before.
Pretty cool. Yeah, I love the look of that. And these questions keep rolling in. You guys are amazing. I think we still got 12 minutes. We're definitely be able to get some more questions, so keep them coming in. Another one, Susan had a very quick question on plant labeling. She goes, for instance, you label a row of plants, but she'll miss one. And so it's very simple, showing how to use that group label button to kind of reassociate a label with a different group of plants to pick up a missed one.
Oh yeah, yeah, that is the best for this. So I'm going to go over to verify labels, and I actually have this exact situation set up here in this drawing already. So I'm going to just right click to check everything on the labels. Great, circled in cyan, circled in yellow. I have right over here that kind of situation where I went over it and I didn't quite get them all. Or, maybe that last one was added. It's a new plant that was added later after these four were already labeled, right? Um, and this is again reiterating the importance of using clone, mimic, these array tools, this Xcopy, and all of that, and copy along polyline and line to make the copy of your plants. Because if plants are already labeled and you use the AutoCAD copy of the plant, it likely won't get picked up by Verify Labels because it's holding the exact same block ID as the one you AutoCAD copied it from, whereas using our tools makes a new block with a new block ID. So with that aside, here's how you fix this situation. Once you see that this has happened, I can go over to label and group label. I don't need to delete it and make a new one. I just need to select the label. So just with anything in AutoCAD, look at the command line. It's trying to tell you what you need to do next. So it's saying select a sample plant in the group or a label to modify or G for ground covers. Those are your options here. So always remember to read the command line on these things. And I'm going to select a label to modify. And the first thing it says, draw the first window point or polygon. So maybe I want to do a polygon. I'm going to just do P for polygon, enter, and then kind of make sure that I am just getting these of those plants. Doesn't matter that other plants are falling inside, of course, and there we go. That's all fixed. That's how you do that. I saw a really good question just now pop up, so I'm going to grab that one.
Oh,
Are you doing anything specific to
oh,
get your plant labels so neatly placed and stacked as they appear to be spaced the same? Or is this just good drafting snapping? Oh, you're making me give out all my secrets, aren't you? um, I am actually using a tool to do this, and it's not even a Land Effects tool. So the reason we made these as smart labels like this, I'm going to do this and let's do like that. Okay, so I went through and I just kind of plopped them all down like this. I want them to be all nice and lined up like this. I can go over to my annotate ribbon, and this is in the same place if you're not using FXCAD, if you're using regular AutoCAD or Civil 3D, the align tool for these plant labels. Because they're M liters and the align tool works on multi-liters, then I can use this regular AutoCAD command on them. So I'm gonna select all of them and right click to accept that selection. And now I can just realign them, but I don't want to do that because their vertical spacing is kind of all over the place too. So I'm going to go to options. I want the vertical spacing to also be neat and tidy. And I'm going to go to distribute. You can see all the other options. You can play around with this, but I'm going to go to distribute. That's my favorite one. And I'm just going to put this right here, click here, and then ortho F8 until it looks nice. Bam. Just like that. And of course, maybe I do this again to kind of fix up this overlapping, but you get the idea. That's how I get all my labels to look perfect. I did a power tip before where I also suggested you can start using grids and grid snaps. And basically, like all of these have a, just make sure probably that the offset is the same in your planting preferences. And when you're placing them down, you can use the grid. That power tip is up here. If I go to, I'm just going to go through here. Videos, power tips. My ribbon is a bit broken at the moment, but you can access this through the ribbon as well. Power tips and plant, we'll call it, I think it was advanced plant labeling tips. Advanced labeling, that's the one. 2019. I've had several firms tell me that this power tip is actually required learning in their Land Effects training. They've added it to their training documents internally for their own office, which is really cool. You can also find it though up here under help and power tip. If you click on that, it will open it up, but my ribbon is broken at the moment because I'm fixing it. What should any questions that we can still address before time's up?
Oh, absolutely. There, we still got a few more. I've just been furiously typing here, so it's
Yeah,
good. We
yeah.
got all of us have been going like crazy. Um, this one will take a little bit to show, so I think it'll just be a quick verbal answer, unless you have a very, very quick one. But Kaylee was just asking about phasing and how difficult it is to kind of fade back the plants from the other phase. And she said very simply, trees in phase one, and then the shrubs and ground covers in phase two, as an example. And I said, just in CAD, really the best way to show phasing is put them in a separate DWG. So you just got
Hmm.
to isolate those trees, W block them out, make that a separate DWG, and then now you have that easy control through the XREF layer. And I don't know if you have any more that you would want to say or show for that.
I think that I would actually pop open the power tip for that one that we did. So the first one is cross referencing. If you do not know what this term means, you need to watch this power tip. And I just had a presentation with university students today, and I was like, you got to use overlay XREFs so that you can avoid circular references and start cross-referencing your XREFs together this way so that you can work in two different files, have those trees in one and the shrubs in the other, and but still be able to see the shrubs in the tree file and the trees in the shrub file. So you need to follow this power tip to see how to best cross-reference your plans that way. And then I do have another power tip for phasing. See if that shows. Show a phased planting plan. It's been a while. That's a 2016 one. I haven't watched it in a while. I do think I cover almost this exact thing where some of the plants are in an XREF and I use those layer controls to then just gray out all the LK layers, right? Because if you know our plants, I'm going to grab this guy right here and explode him. So he's on the LP tree layer, but the whole block is on that layer. So if you set LP tree to gray, none of this line work is going to look gray. So if I explode this, you can see, I'm not going to do a block edit, but you normally wouldn't explode these. All the line work inside is on LK tree and then the intended line weight for that. So that's 025, that's 035, this is trunk, right? So if you go through an XREF and change those LK layers, they will turn gray. And so you can do that by separating them into different XREFs. Then you get the control to go through your layer properties manager and go through your XREFs and do an XREF layer override. And if you don't already know the fast way to do that, you can go to FX admin under general tools, layer tools, X layer. And this is my XREF. I'm just going to click on this line. It's telling me in that XREF, it's on this layer and it's set to this color. I can change that color to anything. Say, okay. And that's going to change it, but it didn't change it. It didn't go into the XREF and change the layer in the XREF. All it did was change the XREF override in this drawing. So that's the way to do it. So you can do that too. You can do it through a viewport. In this case, for that situation, you would want to change the viewport override of that XREF layer to gray for the LK layers. 1 minute. Do we have a 1 minute question or should
Oh
we
my
wrap it
gosh.
up?
Well, just definitely, I think, yeah, you know what? Perfect. I think this will be absolutely perfect 1 minute one.
Okay.
Also verbal. But Dylan chimed in with a fantastic, very lengthy request mentioning from his manager basically what they want out of the concept schedule.
Okay.
They do primarily restoration design, and they're primarily using the concept schedule. So completely understandable that these wish list items would come from them. Because yes, if you're using basically just the concept schedule, they basically would like the concept schedule to have more customization options. So really from the concept schedule dialog box, really, they easy one. He was saying, oh, fill and spacing, those should be separate columns. Wants
Okay.
that as an option. Wanted to specify an amount of clear space under the trees. So, it's calculating trees and shrubs and ground cover in a single concept area. They would like to be able to specify a clear space to be avoided underneath the trees and calculating the available space for shrubs and ground, or I guess for just shrubs, maybe also ground covers. Yeah, just shrubs. Very good point, right? It's exactly what we would imagine. And I think that also cuts right to similarly people who do tree remediation plans
Mm-hmm.
are like, oh, I've got all kinds of wish list items for, yeah, exactly. When you do a niche thing like that, that is not well covered by land effects, of course you're going to have ideas. And you and I ask, I love the input, Dylan, and I love the thoughts of your manager. What's going to make that one step better? Send us an example of your ideal schedule. That's going to help. That's going to go a million miles. And so same, if you do remediation plans, send us an example. Like, what did Amanda say? I always ask of her, even of her. Amanda,
Mm-hmm.
it'd be neat if it does this. Amanda, you got to send me an example. You got to send me an
Yep.
example of what you're after, and that's going to do wonders. And we had a couple of other questions that were also very similar. Is an idea is one thing, but go ahead and mock up that example, or grab a schedule from one you did before land effects and send that in. That's really all we need to just really grasp the idea, and it just helps amazingly. As I always say, the time it'll take for me to try to guess what you want and engineer it, and then to have, after all that, have you go, oh, that wasn't quite what I wanted. Do you think I want that to happen? No, you got to send me an example. That's all that it is. But you know what, everybody? I hope you enjoyed this webinar. What an amazing turnout. Wow, we covered a lot of questions. I hope you are thrilled. We will see you next time. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.